Do you have a bath, friend? Hey guys, so excited to talk to you guys about chapters 9 and 10 of Build to Last tonight. If you are like me, these chapters, honestly, this whole book has been so good and so stretching. But I'm excited to talk about these chapters specifically tonight, especially chapter 10. But first, let's go back and just kind of remind ourselves of what the homework, the action steps were from last week. The last call was chapters 7 and 8, and they were on attracting leaders and identifying leaders. And some of these are kind of like, I love that he asks, like, be honest, or if you're honest, like, make an honest list. Like, I do appreciate the honesty and like the call to be really, I'm actually, hold on, let me put the chat on the side. There we go. To be honest with ourselves, because I can see myself in some of these other places, and I'll get into more of that, what I mean in just a minute. But in attracting leaders, obviously he was asking us to list all of our time-consuming activities that are not contributing to our future. And even Megan and I were talking earlier today, like, yes, we're specifically talking about our business future as it comes to this book, right? We're talking about building a legacy team. We're talking about how to really get into the duplication factor more so than you ever have before. But even if you can look at these principles in your life too, like what are time-consuming activities that are taking you away from your spiritual goals or the goals that you have within your home or the goals that you have as a spouse, right? Like there are a lot of time wasters and things that we are filling ourselves with or doing that just are unfruitful in our lives. And I think it's just really nice that he's calling us to be honest about some of those things so that we can redirect and get rid of some of those things that are honestly not helping us be Proverbs 31, right? And then that second part to that was identifying leaders. I loved the Sleeping Giants story, right? The Haley girls, like we all have people in our teams or people that, you know, maybe are even just customers where you're like, gosh, you would be amazing if you would just do X, Y, and Z, right? And I love that it is a common practice in our teams to love on people, to love them where they're at, but to practice vision casting and to practice planting seeds and to practice inviting them into the fun things that you know that they would thrive in, because we've all been there. We have had people that have believed in us more than we believed in ourselves, or believed in this opportunity and how we fit into it, or the community and how we fit into it more than we understood at the time. And so we get to be those people to our sleeping giants, right? But I do love that it was like, you don't, anyway, he was saying, are you a sleeping giant, right? That was the action step. Are you one of those people? Are you one of those that is still sitting on all of your potential? And to be honest about that, like, man, is my sponsor having to really check on me all of the time? And I'm just totally playing it small still. And or we're looking at who do we have in our teams and our downlines that maybe we're not dripping that vision on as much as we could, or we're not really pulling in or inviting into things as much as we could. We want to identify those leaders that are already with us. So hopefully you kind of went through those action steps last week. If you didn't watch that call or you haven't listened to those chapters, super wonderful. I love that he's got this book on podcast, because so many of us are easily jumping in the car. It's 12 minutes per chapter, just about. I mean, it's crazy how short these are. And so even myself, I'm like, there's really no excuse to even just listen to it once or twice. And that's been helpful for me too. But the title of chapter 9 is Working the Numbers. And I'm going to be honest, I saw this title and I was like, oh no. Like, how many of you are not numbers people? It is okay. And I can definitely tell you, you can be diamond and hate math. I avoided it. I did dual enrollment in high school so that I wouldn't have to take calculus, and I went to statistics instead. So like, it's okay. But I did kind of be like, oh no, he's gonna tell me to get in my back office and learn percentages and numbers. And that really wasn't what it was about. So I was really happy about that. In fact, the first sentence of that chapter was talking about how he heard someone tell him that transformed his business, and obviously is why he wrote this book and all of the things, but you're really only looking for 5 people. And that is transformative because we spend all of our time thinking, I need 300 customers, right? That's why we're all posting about every product, or that's why we're just sharing pictures of our pink drink and nothing else, is because we think, I got to sign up 3 to 5 customers this month and next month and the month after that. And if I could sign up 10, that'd be awesome. Do you know what I mean? Like this ad nauseum thing. And the shift is what he's telling us to shift to is you're really only looking your entire business, not just next month, you're looking for 5 customers. Like the entirety of your business, you are looking for 5 special people, right? And so it really got me thinking of like, how many times do we hear Jessica tell us like, post about the business, post about the business, post about the business, because we are looking for those Jessicas, right? We're looking for that person that sees Tamara Holloway share a picture of her Lexus and say, I want to do that. And boom, 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 there's Jessica, right? So the 2 funnels he talked about were finding distributors, right? Like obviously we're gonna want people that are on our teams and working with us and pedaling with us and participating in things. But then out of those distributors, we're gonna look for identifying our leaders. And these numbers, you guys, were really astounding. So we usually have like a 10% rule, right? Like if, I know we train on this a lot in our team. Like if you reach out to 10 people, you're maybe going to hear yes or no from 1, right? So like we want to make sure we're setting people up, especially new to sharing the business. Like if you send 10 messages, you might only hear back from 1, and that might even be a no, right? So we kind of have a low version of these numbers, but if we play it out to what he's saying, when you're looking for your diamond in the rough, literally, he's saying you would have to talk to about, potentially, right? Talking to about 500 people about your business. Maybe 250 of them will say that they will listen. That's half. Some of them are just not even, we know they're just going to ghost you or blow you off or like not respond to the message. Like, so maybe half of them are going to say that they would listen to a Zoom, jump on a Sunday night call, right? Or get on a call with you. 125 of those might actually do it. So cutting that in half again, right? That is half of that, right? Again, these are not hard numbers. So out of that, only 125 might actually show up to the call. And out of 125, maybe only 25 of those people show up. Obviously, again, this is not like in a month. This is like your entirety, right? So maybe 25 people are actually going to sign up for the business. Remember, we're talking about searching out distributors. We're not talking about out of 500 people, only 25 are going to try the pink drink. This is not that conversation. But when we're inviting people to these Sunday night calls, which we should be doing every week, having people in those calls is systematic. We know that it's going to lead them to help them become silver. We know that it's great testimony sharing, right? Like this is something you can count on that's happening on Sunday nights. 25 sign up. 15 of those 25 might actually work to try and go silver, right? They might actually listen to the training after they sign up and actually make some posts and do that kind of a thing. But out of 15 of those, 5 will probably become runners. I'm just kind of changing this to plexus speak. 5 will become like actual runners that are engaged. Maybe they're actually going silver. They're talking to you about maybe coming to convention next year, right? Like they're super in it with you. These are people that are going to want to do sip and sees with you and all of that. So we've dwindled from 500 conversations to like 5 in it to win it runners with you, right? But remember, we're not just talking about runners. We're not talking about people who are good distributors and good business builders, because that's what our team is comprised of. That's what we are for the majority of our life cycle. And honestly, even as diamonds, I know, Megan and Krista, you can raise your hand too, but I'm that way most of the time. That's why we are also doing these book studies, right? Because we don't also just want to be good distributors. We want to become leaders of leaders. So that means we have to become the leaders and to find and develop the leaders. So out of those 5 runners, you may find 1 that would become a leader who would lead others, a leader of leaders. And that's not to say you're only gonna have one runner, like, but it is gonna say that's just how rare it is to find someone who's gonna be like a diamond of diamonds, you know? And that's where the freedom is in your business. And so when we go back to that, you're really only looking for 5 people. That doesn't mean we're only going to have 5 conversations. And so, I loved how he talked about how time really levels the playing field here, because it really just depends on what you're willing to do. He said you can go fast or slow, but whatever you do, you're looking for your 5 people. This quote, I wrote it down verbatim. So let me say, your skills, energy, passion, and speed at which you connect with people about the business determine how and when you will find your 5. So he said you can go fast and just find them as quickly as possible. We can talk about the red cups in a second. Did you guys love that analogy there? It's like Melissa Eichenhorst did a video a long time ago, like years and years ago, about digging for gold. And I've put that on our page multiple times over the last 9 years. But if you knew that there were gold nuggets in your backyard, wouldn't you get a shovel and dig for the gold, right? Same kind of scenario here. If you knew that there were diamonds out there under all of these cups, like you can go fast and flip all of the cups and be like, oh, I have found the diamonds. Or you can get better and attract them to you. Maybe you find a scientific way to make diamonds magnetic. I don't know. But that was the second way. So developing your skills, learning how to post, learning how to, attract and let those people who really want this seek you out, and you can kind of go through that thing. So I really enjoyed how he said you can go faster, you can go slow, but ultimately find your 5 people. Which way are you willing to do that? I remember when I first got started, I printed out that Facebook friends list real quick and I messaged every single person in my Facebook friends list. Wasn't quite 5,000 at the time, but of course, those weren't all business conversations, but they're connecting with people, right? And I definitely know that I've gotten away from that, in later years. And so that means maybe that's trickling down into my team too. Who knows? Anyway, action step for chapter 9, identify people you've been depending on, but might need to let go. Stop forcing people who are comfortable being one of the 25 who sign up, or the 15 who do the work sometimes, or the 5 who are runners. Maybe stop forcing them to be something that they're not ready or willing to be yet, right? That goes back around to loving people where they're at, right? We want to believe in people, but I do believe like clarity is kind. And so not to let it be like, I think it becomes scarcity mindset for us a lot of times when we're like, yeah, but if it's not them, like, then I have no one, right? And that can be when you're a silver, that can be when you're a gold, that can be when you're a diamond. Trust me, like we can let that creep in and just say like, well, I got to keep dragging them into this and like inviting them to this. And because if they don't show up, no one is. But the whole point is you've still got to be flipping your cups, right? And if you're too busy pulling a rope of the dead horse, or the horse that's like, I really just would like to trot over here and I'm drinking some water, please stop pulling me. I love being in the team, but please stop pulling me. Then you're not going to have time or energy to flip your cups and to grow into someone who is attracting leaders. And that person may become a sleeping giant. We still love them, right? So that was chapter 9. Takeaways, please. Anything that I missed, ladies, or anyone who has read the book, would love to open that up before we move on to the next chapter of things that maybe were aha moments for you.
Well, I just think it was good to hear the perspective of there's 2 funnels. We're looking to find distributors, and like Sally gave us the numbers for that. And then the second funnel is like we're looking to find leaders. And I didn't have the perspective coming into this because I kind of came in through the back door for products. And so that's what I shared and that's what I promoted. And I only had one funnel. And then thankfully, because we were willing to like take massive action and just share with everybody, there naturally were some people like me who enjoyed the products, were like, oh yay, share. Let's share with people. This could help a lot of people. And so I feel like it was kind of a little bit of a lopsided business at first. And actually I mean, it's a very time intensive approach, and there's nothing wrong with building it that way. And some people just want to do that. They want to have their, 20 customers or their 50 customers or maybe even 100 customers if they're fairly influential, right? But if you want to have like the legacy income business, you got to find the leaders. And there's nothing wrong with, promoting products first if that's your jam, but it will take a lot more conversations most likely and not be as fast versus if you have two funnels and you're promoting the products, but you're also it's both and looking for leaders. And I think that's a key component that I missed in the beginning. And I think prayer and faith, the God factor made up the difference for that, but now we know better and we know more. And so you guys can feel more empowered and equipped to lead with the business and teach your teams right out of the gates to lead with the business. So like if you have someone come into your business, or not if, when you have someone come into your business to work the business, then you teach them right out of the gates to go find their 5 leaders. And that's a different approach, because I have trained people to recruit product users for years. That's what I've done. And again, sometimes it's just depending on the person. Sometimes they just have to get their feet wet, dip their toes in, start with the easiest thing first. But if you have a true business builder that's like, hey, I'm here to make money, I'm here for the business, tell me what to do, you're going to teach them to reach out about the opportunity. And I love what Jordan Roddenberry said. She said, it's not harder to reach out about the business. It's not harder to reach out about the business, and it's not harder to teach people to reach out about the business. And I thought it was really, I just had like an aha moment when I was on a mastermind call in April. And she said that all of her Ruby level 1s and above, she personally sponsored into the business. And that was really encouraging to me, because that's not been my story. Pretty much, maybe like except for 1 or 2, 3 maybe people of our level 1s, Justin recruited a few people for the business, but mostly products, and then they ended up loving that and sharing, and so I just thought that was so encouraging that you can teach people right out of the gates to lead with business.
Yeah, so good. Anyone else want to share before we go on to the mentorship system? Okay, look, we're doing so good on time. We're halfway through with our time and we are halfway with our chapters. Look at that. Okay. Okay, so full transparency. I have literally struggled in this area of one-on-one mentorship for the 9 years I have been with Plexus. I did not have steady one-on-one mentorship calls with my sponsor, and I did not create a system of doing that with my business builders and winging it. So there's not to say that you can't fumble through and still get there at the end if you're willing to work hard and you're willing to flip all of your cups and all of the things. But this is streamlining and efficiently working your business so that you don't have to go crazy and that you enjoy building relationships with people who want to do this with you, right? And part of that is having a system of accountability and activity. And I love kind of how he laid this out. And I want to, I won't necessarily tell you, but I have a friend who is a just health coach in general. She used to be a macros coach, and she then worked with another coaching company for a little while, and she's back doing things just for herself. But something I have always loved about what she does, and have kind of not envied in a bad way, but been like, I need to grow in this area. Something that she has inspired me in is what he's talking about, is her discipline and her consistency with her check-ins with the people she's coaching. And she's got Google Forms. And remember, Jessica used to have forms that we would have to fill out, weekend review kind of things if we were going to coach with her one-on-one ever. That these people, it's causing them to reflect on their week, which keeps them accountable to their personal responsibility for her for their health goals, right? Which we have people that we need to be checking in for that too. But I think when we don't have this piece of the accountability and the one-on-one stuff, then I feel like I have too much responsibility over their success or over their business. But when we're able to ask questions and they know what's expected, then they can honestly say, yeah, well, I didn't meet my KPIs this week because I didn't do the work, or for her, I didn't, walk at all this week and I didn't follow my macros. Therefore, I didn't have any, positive things to say about my health journey this week. So coaching actually helps bring personal responsibility into the equation, and it's less about giving advice and more about asking questions and just checking in. Because remember, people who are going to want a one-on-one coach with you want to grow, right? Like, we're not just setting up calls with people who just want to chit chat and be besties. Like, we have personal time for that, and we can go out to coffee, or obviously we want to have friends. Like, not every relationship in our life is about our business, but I love how the first thing he talked about in this chapter was an upfront understanding with the people who are going to opt into your coaching, because it's not going to be for everybody, and they need to understand, like, hey, when I'm signing you into this business, like, this is not, I'm not interviewing to find just people I just like thoroughly enjoy and want to be best buddies with, right? And like that probably will happen, right? Because once you're enjoying growing a business together, you become really close and you'll become best buddies and you'll get to go on trips together and all of that stuff. But step one is we want to make sure the people that are coming into this are successful. And we do have systems to help them get involved with that, like our Sunday night calls that they can then invite people to, right, for the business, and getting them plugged into that Silver and Six and the trainings that are associated with that. But I like how he said, like, this first month, maybe it's going to feel a little bit more like an employee boss relationship. And it's not because you're actually their boss, because I don't want to be somebody's boss, right? Like, we're building a volunteer army. But because if they want to see success, they're going to need to follow your guidance. And you have to have a partnership, someone who's willing to follow you, and you've got to be willing to show up and lead them. And so without either of those, either you're following up with them and throwing everything out, and it's exhausting and annoying because you're like, man, they signed up for the business and now they're not responding to me, right? Or they're like, I said I wanted to do this and she's like not telling me what to do. So it really does take two to tango in that, and I really loved that. Do you feel like you have maybe shied away from coaching because of any of that? And do you feel like the clarity that that is kind of asking for makes that a little less daunting for you? From a relational or time standpoint, honestly. It definitely does for me, because I feel like when we put that out there up front, you're gonna know who's serious about doing it and who's not, right? And then I think a lot of this also takes what he said second, was be a professional mentor. Um, I was talking to one of my friends because it was, what is it, like a year ago, everyone's getting like health coaching certifications. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be a health coach. And I'm like, people are paying $300 to $500 a month for a health coach. And that's what I've been doing for free for 9 years. Like, we are coaches, like, whether you want to believe it or not, like, it's just your value on yourself that you're not seeing. It's like, I am not I'm not putting across the value that I have when I can say I could mentor you, because that sounds scary to me, because I'm like, I'm not a mentor. I don't know what to tell people. And it's like, stop. Yes, you do. Right? You do. You do know enough to help people get to that first step. We do know enough. And the value is there. They get you one on one. Your time and your knowledge and your connection to everything that you know belongs in the team pages and every YouTube video you already know exists is valuable to someone who wants to earn money from home. So you are a professional mentor, and you have to put yourself in that place. I have to put myself in that place so that we can say, okay, I am a professional mentor. Here is how I do this. Do you want to do this with me? This is how it works. No pressure if not, right? you get to kind of invite people into that. And if they're not going to follow those rules, you also have the professionalism to be able to say, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to put you in this distributor funnel over here where you are going to love the stuff that's happening on the team page, but we're not ready for one-on-one accountability quite yet. Right. And then I love how he talked about how he protects his time. This is another huge thing that I feel like I have shied away from the one-on-one coaching, is because I'm not a good keeper of my own schedule, and it feels like, how do I put something in there regularly? Well, that's what it takes. Being a business owner, you have to act like a business owner, which means you set business hours and you stick to them. So am I willing to be professional to get a professional outcome, right? Am I willing to say, okay, on Mondays for this block of an hour, I've got 2 coaching calls that I am willing to do at these times, and keep those appointments and stick to that. Carissa, I know you are talking right now, but if you can't write, that's okay. But I have always been super inspired by Carissa, because from day one of her journey, she has kept really good boundaries around her time, her family. And I remember her talking about her business hours, and when she first started, that she had a flip phone. And so she couldn't just be working her business all the time from her phone like we were. So she would have to sit down and actually do that. Carissa, can you talk to us a little bit about how that has helped you feel maybe more professional and treating this like a business?
Yeah, sure. And I was in the middle of writing kind of a long comment too, so I'll send that in a minute, but I had to like get every kid.
You're good.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, what she said is true. I had a dumb phone for the first at least year of my business. So from zero to emerald. Um, and I have chosen the word focus as one of my core values in addition to a few other words. And so I don't always do it perfectly. And so I don't want anyone to just spiral in shame over it. But we just are not made to multi-focus. Like we try, especially as women and moms, to multitask. And we really end up not doing any particular task extremely well because our brains can't multi-focus. And so I I have to create that protected time. I'm loving the 10x is easier than 2x book, where they talk about having focus days, buffer days, and free days. And your free days where you completely unplug and psychologically detach. And then on your focus days, you're like lasered in on the most needle moving things that grow your team exponentially and grow your business. And then on the buffer days, you're setting yourself up, teeing yourself up for those focus days to be powerful and effective, and then doing a lot of the responsive type work and maybe some of the more habitual mundane type habits. But yeah, what else do you want me to say about that?
No, I just think that that is something so many of us can feel like. And I actually had a conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago who has not worked her business the last year. And I was like, where'd you go, friend? She reached out to me about something else. And she just said, I just feel like whenever I'm choosing to do this, that I'm just working all the time, and hadn't even gone gold yet. So it's like, either it just feels that way, and we need to look at like, or choose your hard, because we are made to work, right? Like if you want to make money and your family needs money, like you do have to work, right? But there is also like, what were you doing with that time that you were on your phone? Because I don't want anyone to feel like that, because I don't want to feel like that, right? It's that hamster wheel of, I'm always working, but I'm not getting anywhere. And that is where our belief drops like crazy in our opportunity, because we're not actually focused on doing the things in an efficient amount of time that grow your business, and for sure develop leaders in this specific way that he's talking about here.
And
um
one more thing I can jump in and
yeah.
add is that, like, so again, I'm going to reference the 10x is easier than 2x book, because the premise is that you're continually identifying the 80% of your work that is really kind of fluff that someone else could do, or that it could go undone, and you're zeroing in on the 20% that is most powerful, most effective, and most in your unique ability. But what I was finding myself doing is choosing the shallow, surfacey things because they were the most easily interruptible, and the deeper, like getting in the zone stuff that I kind of have to get in the zone for, which for me, a big one is like starting new conversations about plexus. Not because I'm terrified of it. I've really come so far in that area. And I like truly do. I've chosen to set aside the fear, as Keith Callahan says, chosen to set aside the fear because I know my opportunity changes lives and changes generations that follow. But I have to get in the zone for that. Megan, you have encouraged me a lot with this because actually Megan does this in the nooks and crannies of her day via voice message, and that has that skill. But I do better. Like if I do one brave reach out to start the plexus conversation, the fear level goes down a few notches, and then I'm like, I need to do another one, and then the fear level goes down a few notches, and so it's like best knock out several while you're in that zone. So that for that reason, like you have to have time and attention to get deeply in the zone. And I was just so even late in my business, you guys, like I'm coming up on my 10-year Plexiversary. I have like hit diamond, and I'm still falling into these types of temptations because my family's grown. I have more kids. And so I would have this protected time, but I would be choosing activity that's like, if I get interrupted, so what? I'll send stuff to the diamond partners that, little issues that need correcting, or I'll respond to whatever comes in to my inbox, even if it's not from, a potential business builder or a leader, or a new person, a lot of just same old questions from same old people that they can look up on their own in the help center type stuff. Everybody, I'm sure, knows what I'm talking about.
Yes, absolutely. And for me, and tell me if you're this way too, guys, but if I am always just doing stuff in the midst and in the car, like, good Lord, if I ever get pulled over for texting and driving, thank you, Lord, that I have not yet. But like, I don't feel like a business owner in that moment. Those are the reactive times we're working our business, or someone responded to a post and you're like, oh, let me go message her real quick. Like, I love to see when people go sit at a coffee shop with their computer and they are a business owner in that moment because they have decided to carve out that time. Doesn't have to be at a coffee shop, right? Like I have a desk in my home. How often do I actually sit here with my computer or a notepad done and do work? I feel different when I'm sitting here in front of this little light and this computer, and therefore I behave differently. I speak differently. I message people differently. I attend things to my team differently because I feel like exactly what Chris said. We're not made to multi-focus. And so when I'm doing the dishes and I'm in mom mode and I'm frustrated because no one picks anything up off the floor, that's how I'm responding and that's how I'm messaging if I'm doing that in that space, right? So I love that focus time. It doesn't mean you have to be the best person at time blocking or, have to have your schedule laid out all month, but it just means allow your brain time to be who you are and who you want to be as a leader, finding people to run in this business with you. Be the person who can sit for a second and say, I am a coach. I am a mentor, right? Like I am someone who loves to check on my people and see how they're doing. And then you can work from that. So I truly loved how he spoke on that. And thank you so much, Krista, for sharing, because I've always been inspired by how you do that as well. So as we end out this call tonight, he did outline in the book, and he does have on keithcallahan.com/book some free additional audio and free PDF on what his calls look like, his mentorship calls look like. And he said in his work time that he kind of schedules out for his weeks, it's made of 3 different types of work time: recruiting, because we all have to be personally recruiting, right? That's that 500 distributors you're looking for. And in the meantime, you guys, remember, this is you're looking for your diamonds, but at the same time, you're still having VIPs join you. You're still, being able to earn the monthly incentive, but we are focusing on recruiting leaders in part of that time. We are focusing on one-on-one mentoring for people who are already in your downline that want one-on-one coaching and growth. And then he said he focuses on group activity, which is what we're used to. That's the stuff like tonight. This is things in our pages and in our threads and getting together and sip and season, those kinds of things. I think a lot of times we live there and we think this is working my business, right? Like I'm a part of the team page and I'm commenting on this, or I did this challenge. And that is being an active participant in your team, but that is not living into being a leader who is working to be a leader of leaders, right? That's not being one of those running people who are going to start to turn into that leader of leaders. So I'm not going to go over the calls, but he talks about the KPIs, which we discussed earlier in the book, those key performance indicators. And truthfully, it's about, that rank up strategy that Jessica has. It's just about weekly setting goals and then following up the next week and saying, hey, how'd you do on those, right? You said you wanted to do X, Y, and Z. How'd it go? What worked and what didn't? Were you able to find time for that? Tell me about it. So again, it just all boils down to accountability for the activity that person is saying they want to do because they want to be successful. And I love how he did say he ends his calls with a good ending, he called it, but basically like vision. So just remember, everything we talked about today is how you're going to be able to pay for that vacation that you said you wanted to be able to take your family on, or like be able to buy those groceries. Like we're ending with this vision thing of like, you're not doing this for me, babe. Like I love that you love me, but sometimes I feel like my team does things for me instead of doing it for themselves. And I'm just like, you got to want this for you, right? Like, what do you want? And I'm like, half the time, I don't know what I want, but like, I want you to know what you want. But that's what it is, right? We have to help each other remember what it is that we want so that we are choosing to go for it. That's something else in the 10X book that has been so good, is like learning what you want, and you're willing to work so much harder for something that you want than the things that you need, because at some point your needs are met and you're not willing to work anymore, right? Or you can say, well, I don't really need that. Like we're fine. I don't really need organic apples. Trust me, you do. They're not okay. But I want organic apples. I don't want to have to worry about like totally scrubbing and peeling a whole inch down into the core of the apple. Like I want to just be able to scrub it a little bit and peel the skin and feel like I'm okay. I want that. I want that for my kids. I want that for my sanity. Anyway, other things, daily check-ins, group Zooms, chats, pages, all those things. So action steps for chapter 10. Make a list of people on your team already that you could have a conversation and ask if they would want to do one-on-one calls with you. Remember, this isn't just about us saying, well, you'd be good at one-on-one calls because I believe in you. That's the partnership thing, right? Hey, I'm going to start doing accountability calls with people in my downline that I think would be great leaders and who want to grow in this business. If you are one of those people, I would love to talk to you about what that might look like and what kind of commitment that is, so that we can help you see the success that you want to see. So would you want to set up a call to be able to talk through what your goals are financially for your family and how this business, if we work together, we can help you get there, kind of a thing. So then set up those calls so that you can have those introductory calls and maybe feel each other out and see like, yes, you're willing to grow. Yes, you want this. What is their vision? What is their goals? And then once they're there, set some key performance indicators for the upcoming week. This week, you want to reach out to your leaders and you want to be yourself remembering, you need to add 4 people by the 15th because all of your bonuses are doubled. That is so much money on the table. So I got to get my own hiney in gear, right? We don't want to leave all of that. Like Plexus gives us so much, so kindly. I just got my wallet in the mail and it's so pretty. I haven't opened it yet because I want to take a little video of it to share. But that's extra money. That's groceries. That's gas. That's summer vacation stuff. That's a new, wardrobe or uniforms for your kid, whatever it is, like it's there. Are we willing to show up and work for it? Are we willing to have the conversations? Are we willing to follow up? And then are we willing to bring people along and call them higher so that they can reach their goals too? we can be professional mentors in this space. Like you can do it, even if you are gold, even if you used to be gold and you're not gold anymore, even if you're like, I've been trying to go Ruby for 5 years. It doesn't matter, right? Like who you decide to be today and what you decide to do with the systems and the knowledge that you have, that's really all that matters, what you're willing to do with that. So any last minute things other than that? And we are right. Yes, 1% better than yesterday. That's exactly right, Megan. To remind
Forget
myself that.
about the Thursday messenger event. That's a great thing. So we have our Sunday thing and then the Thursday evening messenger event. So that's perfect to funnel people into. And also Genevieve was on the call. I missed the very first part of the call, but there's something which convention is happening and there's going to be fun stuff announced. And so she's like, whatever you do, get your 4 by the 15th. So I'm encouraging everybody. I don't know what all the scoop is and what reasons why, but I think we should trust the leadership and also just go make it happen. Cause like we all can do that. Like, let's just be honest. If you create enough conversations, you can sign your 4 by the 15th. So what I was encouraging my team to do is like pretend like each week is like a mini month and like make the Sunday through Sunday the month. And then like Friday through Sunday at midnight is kind of like your crunch time, right? Like end of month, where you're closing up the conversations, popping back into those, those messages and encouraging people to just go ahead and get started. So I'm just repeating about that because I think it's so important. So
Yeah. That's so good, especially like when you're reading or listening to his book, he's like, each week, how many distributors did you sign up? How many rank ups did you have? And it's like, those are things that my brain goes to like last month. How many people did you sign in a month? And it's like, we do have to shift that to, I should expect more from myself, not in a like earn my righteousness kind of way, but like we are capable of so much more than we allow ourselves to really participate in most of the time. Like you can sign up 1 to 3 people every week if you are having conversations. You could sign up 1 to 3 people into the business every month and way more people than that into just the products if we're utilizing the systems, if we're having the conversations and we're getting serious about, I love that weekly thing. Like if you were having accountability calls every week and you were like, well, 0 for this week, 0 for this week, like at some point that's going to get really annoying to say. But then like he tells us, we have to be honest with ourselves and say, why is it still 0 this week? Like, why have I still not? Because I didn't really invite anybody to that Sunday night call. So of course I don't have someone who's signing up into the business because I have only had 3 conversations, mentioning the business, or I posted about it one time, right? We can do better because we want more. And that's why you're here, right? You do want more out of your business because nobody wants to be on a hamster wheel. We don't want you there. We don't want to feel like we're telling people to get on a hamster wheel, right? Like we want measurable success. And I love this. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Any other final thoughts? Anything that you guys are excited to work on? The action steps, again, remember you want to make your list of one-on-one people and set up calls. And then the action steps from chapter 9, identify people that you just need to love and maybe let go and stop being like, well, if they would just show up, my business would be growing. Let them be them, and you go be you and go find your diamonds, right? Yay, more combos, yes. Yeah. Maybe a good action step for us to find our 4 for non-business people or anybody's by the 15th would be 4 times 10, right? If only 1 out of 10 are going to respond yes or no, I would say you probably at least need to send 40 messages or 40 messages and follow-ups in order to have enough conversations going to
Ooh,
sign.
let's do it. Who's in? Type a 1 in the chat if you're in for that. We can do that by this weekend, right before convention. We're not waiting until after the convention to get inspired. We're going to do it now and take action. I was just going to chime in a quick idea that I have. So when you do your protected plexus time, have you ever like flown into your office, get to shut the door, or wherever you work? Maybe it's the car and the kids are doing their own thing. And you're like, well, what do I do? I'm here, I have time to work my business. What do I do? So one thing that I have been doing is when I am on social media and maybe I'm not in like a high activity, I'm not in the zone to reach out to people about the business opportunity, I am intentionally looking in my feed for people that would be amazing at this opportunity, or I've just never had a conversation. Maybe there's something that catches my eye about the person, like there's a little spark, I screenshot. And then when it's time for me to go do my business reach outs, like in a different time of the day, I go to my screenshots album on my phone and I blitz through those people. And Genevieve on a call 2 weeks ago said her homework was you need to do 3 business asks 5 days a week. Hands down, just do it. And Julie Adams sent some verbiage that's been working really well. I'll pop it in the chats if you guys want to utilize it and try it. But I would highly encourage you guys to figure out your creative ways of being efficient in your time. And the other thought or the other idea that I had was like, what if I reach out to the top 10 people when I scroll? No judgment. I just reach out about the business. If they're not on my team and they're not in Plexus, like the top 10 people, right? Keep scrolling until you get your 10 messaged and just do it. Like no judgment, just create the conversations because that's what it boils down to.
So good.
Mhm.
Thanks, Megan. All
Okay.
right, guys. I
Mhm.
think that's it.
All
Y'all enjoy
righty.
your night.
Thank you, Sally. See you all at convention.